Well, coming up on today's show, the electric startup Rivian unveils their pickup truck. Big day, very exciting about that. Porsche Taycan's platform looks like it could be used for Audi's Model S competitor. And Elon Musk reveals new details about how close Tesla came to folding when things got really tight. We will share that and more on today's podcast. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily. It is Tuesday, it's the 27th of November, less than a month now till the big day. And it's Martyn Lee here, and I've been through every EV story I can find, whittled it down to only the essentials that I think you need to know about to save you time. Thank you very much to MyEV for helping make this show. They've built the world's first marketplace, all about buying and selling and learning about used EVs. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. Congratulations to the team there for adding so many cool cars. I just like window shopping on there. Yeah, those Tesla Model X's, not in my league, but I do like looking at them. Thank you very much to the latest supporter on Patreon as well. That would be Kyle. Kyle, well, I should have emailed Kyle and done his mention a day later. I can always get it right tomorrow. It's either Mahn or Mahan. How would you say Kyle's surname? Well, I'm sure Kyle knows. I should have asked him. M-A-H-A-N. I'm going with Mahn, but with a 50-50 probability of being wrong. Kyle, thank you very much for being the latest producer of this podcast via patreon.com/EV News Daily. And if I have massively butchered your name, please tell me, and I'll get it right tomorrow. We'll start with some big news. I want to spend a lot of time on this, actually, because I think this is in itself good news. What it signifies even bigger, though. And the first story was sent to me today by, well, several people, actually. Mike on Twitter, Mike Jelfs, forwarded that to me. Also, Bloomington, Illinois, it was Miles Bardell sent me this. He said that Rivian recently bought Mitsubishi's 2.4 million square foot plant, not far from him, for $16 million. He says, I hope Rivian's products will put pressure on Tesla as well as traditional automakers. And also thank you to Paul Rollman from Wisconsin, from Menominee Falls. Thank you, Paul Rollman, for sending me the Jalopnik link as well. It's an American car startup. They are an American company, but the money has been funded, like I say, from overseas. They've revealed their very first model. It's a go-anywhere pickup truck, and it's called the R1T. It's a 5-seater, and the R1T has been revealed ahead of the Los Angeles Motor Show later this week. It'll be joined by the closely related 7-seat SUV called the R1S. Now, Rivian's battery pack is going to be mounted in the floor of the platform. It's a skateboard design. In the R1T, it's going to be good for 300 miles range, or with a 130 kilowatt-hour battery pack capacity. That's very, very respectable. Or the truck can do 400 miles with the 180 kilowatt-hour mega pack, and the only thing that we've seen come above that is the 200 kilowatt-hour new Tesla Roadster pack, but that is a $250,000 car. The base level, as it were, base level 105 kilowatt-hour model will follow within a year of the truck going on sale. The R1T's flat floor is also reinforced with carbon fibre and Kevlar to protect the battery pack. This is a truck made for working, and whilst it has achieved a 5-star crash test safety rating in the US, according to Autocar. Inside EVs say it can sprint from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, or to 100 miles an hour in 7 seconds. For a pickup truck with a flatbed on the back and seating 5 adults in comfort. The R1T can tow a whopping £11,000, and to top that off, there are 4 independent 147 kilowatt motors controlling 3,500 newton meters of torque on each wheel, a combined output of 14,000 newton meters of torques. That's 800 horsepower. Well, in the Jalopnik article, they revel in a glorious frunk in the front of the car, the front trunk, the frunk that can, I mean, it's huge. It's enormous. You could climb in. I recommend you don't. It could fit a huge cooler and a duffel bag with ease. Rivian's skateboard design battery, and if you don't know what that means, if you're new to the podcast, by the way, skateboard, actually think of a skateboard, which is a flat plank and it's got 4 wheels. That's what when we talk about skateboard design with EVs, rather than having to kind of retrofit them in the spaces you've got, like if it's a model that used to have a diesel engine, you know, putting some batteries up the front and some batteries under the seats. This is the battery pack being completely underneath the passenger compartment and completely reinforced as well. It's how Tesla do it, by the way. They say that the glorious frunk means that you can have loads of space, some entertaining use of space, they say. There are enough hidey holes to satisfy the most accessorised outdoorsy person, and it includes a tunnel. Now, where is the tunnel? So, if you can imagine, the three passengers are sitting in the back. Just behind them, their lower back, sort of where their backside would be, go rearwards a little bit, sort of underneath the flatbed truck, you know, where the flatbed of the pickup would then join the passenger compartment, but before you get to the rear axle. Otherwise, it would be wasted space. It's a tunnel, and it's got little sidey opening doors behind. So you've got the front two doors that open for the driver and the passenger to get in. You've got the next doors at the back for the rear passengers to get in. Then you've got some little mini doors at the back at the bottom, and it opens up this tunnel, and you can put things in there like golf clubs if you were particularly inclined to do that, or a snowboard if you're driving this truck up into the mountains for a bit of snowboard season. The little hatch door that folds down as well doubles as a seat, and you can stand on it if you want to get something off the roof. The large bed, by the way, the flatbedness of the pickup truck, is wide enough for a sheet of plywood, and it comes with a cover as well, and customizable crossbars and roof rails that owners can move and switch in at any time. According to Autoblog, now Rivian spent years developing this EV-specific chassis to underpin all of its future vehicles, which for now is only the truck, the R1T, and the SUV that we'll see at the LA Motor Show later this week, the R1S. It's made out of aluminium and high-strength steel, and it can fit up to 180 kilowatt-hour battery pack with current technology before any energy density improvements in the future mean that you could get more batteries in the same space. So far, Rivian haven't revealed the battery supplier yet. Because the battery pack is under the floor, it does have the lowest centre of gravity of any truck on the market. Weight distribution, spot on, 52-48 front to rear. It's like a sports car. Ride quality looks promising as well. It uses multi-link rear and AA arm front suspension designs, and Rivian claims it's going to handle very well. Helping it to do that both on-road and off-road is air suspension on all four corners. It's capable of raising the vehicle over 5 inches from the road, the normal driving height when you need extra ground clearance and you're heading off on the trails. There are USB and USB Type-C ports everywhere around the interior. Rivian's even hidden some in the back of the front headrests for the rear seat passengers. You can plug in if you are sitting on the tailgate, and this is essential for any country music song, by the way. I'm not sure there'll be too many country music songs written initially about electric vehicles. Surely it's about firing up your big truck. But if you are writing a country music song, you're definitely going to write something about folding down the back of the truck and sitting there and opening a few cold beverages. If you want to, you can literally sit on the tailgate and plug in all of your devices, all of your USBs, 110-volt outlet, a little fridge there for keeping your bevies cool. I thought so. Part of the beauty of having an electric truck is the ability to use it as a generator, and you can power literally anything you want when camping. Take a microwave and heat up your dinner. You can plug it in and start cooking. Utility is one of the biggest things Rivian's stressed in the press briefing. You can even, and this is an idea that I saw people tweeting Elon Musk about for the Tesla pickup truck, you can use your truck as an air compressor. So if you have a hose, I imagine I'll sell it as an accessory. If you want, you can plug in an air compressor hose. There's going to be an outlet in the bed, and then anything that you would plug on the end of an air compressor, pumping something up, or any of those devices that you can put on the end of some air compressors. It uses the air from the air suspension, you see. Well, Rivian released a statement. They said this, and I quote, "Pricing will start at $61,500 after the federal tax credit. Deliveries of the R1T will begin late 2020. Fully equipped vehicles with the highest performance level and largest battery pack will enter production first. Our 180 kilowatt-hour pack, giving you 400 miles of range, and a 135 kilowatt-hour pack will be available at launch. The base variant, with 230 miles of range, will follow within 12 months of the start of production. Rivian is now accepting pre-orders for a refundable deposit of $1,000, and more information at rivian.com. Let me say, by the way, if I can add a small bit of comment for what it's worth, Ford could have released this truck today. There is nothing stopping Ford. Not the lack of great designers, got those. Not the lack of great engineers, they've got those. Or the scale, let's face it, to get this done. It's the lack of will and the lack of desire from a company like Ford to let someone like Rivian do this first. And the answer can only be they don't want to be first at Ford. And that's their call. It's their business. Maybe like Apple products. Apple are never first to market, very rarely, with any technology. But when they do come to market, the products are very good. And that might just be the Ford business model. But I would love to have seen a big incumbent, a big automaker like Ford, with a rich heritage going, look what we could do. We make a pickup that'll do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, that'll go up and down on air suspension, that will go anywhere, anytime you want, and be the most useful utility vehicle. And I think that would have got a lot more press than Rivian did today, which was still very impressive, by the way. Congratulations to Rivian. And if it's been hard work getting to this, the next hard work starts now, and production 2020 is when they're aiming for. The other big thing, of course, is the Tesla pickup truck and how it will affect their plans and maybe the timeline. Well, Elon Musk recently put an order of things to do at Tesla, and it was, for him, in terms of resource priority, solar roof tiles, pickup truck. Everyone thought it was going to be Tesla Semi, Model Y, but roof tiles first, then the pickup. Not necessarily that's the order that they would be hitting the market, but it certainly shows his order in his brain when he was tweeting about that. So maybe Tesla will beat Rivian to market with a truck that you can bet is every bit as good, if not better. We'll have to wait and see. Really exciting news today. Trucks are over here in the UK, in Europe. They are around, but not a big deal. So for any of my non-US listeners, I can't emphasize enough how big a deal it will be when there is a pickup truck on the market that blitzes any fossil truck in every possible area. 400 miles of range, tick. The best pickup you can get, tick. The most torque, the best off-road, the best on-road. And if you got some solar panels on your farm and you got some solar panels at your place, always getting in it in the morning and it's full. Now, I mean, you might be living in oil country, in oil territory, but heck, that's a pretty compelling argument. Never having to go to the gas station again? Oh, man. Wonder how quickly we can convert some of those current pickup truck drivers to driving electric. There'll be a few holdouts, I'm sure, but plenty will think, well, hang on. I can make my own fuel if you live somewhere sunny. And that just makes total sense. Anyway, congratulations, Rivian. We'll keep a close eye on that. Spent a long time on that today, but I think it's really worth it. Not just because of the car, but what it symbolises as well, and what the conversations we'll be having in boardrooms all around the world now about this. Good luck to them. Really hope they get to do it. Well, moving on to Audi. Audi said it was bringing its e-tron GT concept to the LA Auto Show, but now we've got some teaser images of what is claimed to be what we'll be calling it now, the e-tron GT sedan. The pictures popped up on Germany's Bild, and it's a report coming via Zach Palmer for Autoblog. Not exactly clear from the Bild report if these images are a concept or a production car. It does claim, though, that the e-tron GT sedan will be ready in 2020. It's going to have a 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack. That's good for 248 miles of range. Acceleration 0 to 60 under 4 seconds. And maybe the most interesting tidbit of information that the German newspaper Bild gleaned about the e-tron GT sedan, it sits on the Porsche Taycan platform. And actually, if Audi can get this car to market before the Taycan, well then we'll have to switch that around and say the Taycan sits on Audi's platform. Look, it's all VW, so it's good news they're sharing knowledge and resources. Think of it like a big, low-slung, luxurious Audi A7, but fully electric and called the e-tron GT sedan. Mentioned Tesla a while ago. There was a new Elon Musk interview over the weekend. I talked about it at the weekend with some choice quotes that we could get our hands on. It's an HBO interview. Go check it out. I'm sure the whole thing is probably posted on YouTube these days, whether it's meant to be or not. I pulled out a few quotes I thought would be interesting for you to listen to today. The first one from Elon when he said this: Tesla faced a severe threat of death due to the Model 3 production ramp. Essentially, the company was bleeding money like crazy, and if we didn't solve these problems over a short period of time, we would die. It was extremely difficult, end quote. That was around the time when some very senior people were shuffled along, and one particular senior manager moved away, and Elon taking direct operational control of the Model 3 ramp up and production of that. And you wonder at the time why that was, and it's definitely not because of Elon's ego, by the way. Having followed this company for a very long time, I don't for a moment think that he wanted his name above the door of the Model 3. I think if he had the people there doing probably what he wanted to be happening at the speed at which it was happening, getting the results that he wanted, then perhaps he wouldn't have inserted himself into that situation and sleeping on the factory floor and working 120-hour weeks and really just having a few hours sleep each night and not really going home and seeing friends and family. He said this, and I quote, "It hurts my brain and my heart. It hurts. It's not recommended for anyone. I just did it because if I didn't do it, there was a good chance Tesla would die," end quote. And that was him talking about working so much. He says this, "How do we ensure that the future constitutes the sum of the will of humanity? And so, if we have billions of people with high bandwidth linking to an AI extension of themselves, it would make everyone hyper smart." And that's him talking about some kind of man and machine bonding as one, some sort of neural link where you plug yourself into a computer or vice versa, where your brain is hardwired into the technology. He says this, "You kind of have this already in a weird way. You have a digital tertiary layer in the form of your phone, your computers, your watch. You basically have these computing devices that form a tertiary layer on your cognition already." And he talked about that in the Joe Rogan interview that was a couple of hours long as well a little while ago, where he says, actually, while we're talking about a future where knowledge will be hardwired into your brain somehow, there'll be some sort of link between man and machine. For now, having a device in the palm of your hand where any piece of information is now available instantly, then he says we're getting close to that. Actually, when you think about that, wowzers, yeah, I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing that kids are growing up now, and if they've only ever known the smartphone, they've only ever known a world where every piece of information available to mankind is available to them instantly and for free. Moving on, and this is some curious news. What do you make of this? More fallout from the Carlos Ghosn story, which happened this time last week. He was, of course, the chairman and leading the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi alliance. Alas, no more. Arrested last week, and we'll let the legal process do what it has to do. I've seen way too much speculation and comment online. Maybe that's the way it's done, where those websites are hosted, but certainly not only legally over here, but also I just kind of think morally, okay, someone's been accused of something, now let the legal process do its course. And it could be that anything happens at the end of that process. But I've seen that. I mean, I guess in America you sort of televise court cases and things, don't you? And again, that's a big no-no over here. Once something becomes kind of a legal matter, then you step back and go, okay, well, if that person will, innocent until proven guilty kind of thing. So I've had a couple of emails saying, you don't really talk about this very much over the last week. And that's why I felt like I wanted to explain myself there. So I'll step back from all of that. But we'll talk about the cars very, very happily. The higher performance, longer range Nissan Leaf was expected soon, maybe even within a day or two. Nissan now says it will delay the launch until their former leader, Carlos Ghosn, the issue is cleared up, whatever that means. According to the latest news, the long-range Nissan Leaf with a 60 kilowatt-hour battery was expected to be launched a year after the introduction of the 40 kilowatt-hour battery. Mark from Inside EV says Nissan called off the launch of a high-performance Leaf, cancelling events in Yokohama and Amsterdam, which were scheduled for tomorrow, the 28th of November. I don't know if those events were billed as come along and see the new Nissan Leaf, or simply the invite went out to the journalists to please come to an event, but it does sound like if it was in both Yokohama and Amsterdam, it was probably going to be that big announcement. My thoughts are, maybe you can help me clarify my thoughts on this. I'd love you to email the show anytime. The email address is hello@evnewsdaily.com. You can comment on the YouTube section and on the Facebook comments, and the blog has got a feedback form. I don't quite know what to think about them postponing the long-range Leaf. It's a product launch. Now, a product launch could change the narrative. So the narrative at the moment is all about Carlos Ghosn and his arrest. If you do it now, it could change the news stories. Alternatively, you could argue, don't do it now, because all the articles will be about both the car and about him, taking the spotlight away from the car. So do you wait 2 weeks? Well, yeah, but if you wait 2 weeks, the press is still going to make the link to Carlos and the ongoing legal case. And so we see it with Tesla. Even now, there's a Tesla story about nothing in particular, and they'll link it to, meanwhile, their CEO, Elon Musk, who was seen earlier this year taking a smoke of a cigarette on a video, and it's like, that has nothing to do with the Tesla story, but they'll rake it up. So, wait a month, wait 6 months, they're still going to bring up the Carlos Ghosn thing. So I don't think that was, waiting is not necessarily the only way of diverting the attention. Maybe, I'm thinking out loud now, maybe Nissan isn't ready. Maybe the car's not ready. Well, I think that's doubtful. They've got some very smart people working for them. And, of course, they've got the world's most popular EV, the Nissan Leaf, 300,000 of them sold. Maybe, speculation, opinion here, maybe the board are not keen, because maybe EVs aren't as profitable as they would like the company to be. We know that Carlos Ghosn was a force of nature. He was a force to be reckoned with. And he was a big fan of EVs. He pushed through the Nissan Leaf, the Renault Zoe. Well, that's possible, actually. It's possible the board have gone, you know what, this was Carlos's, it was his thing, but we make so little money on these. I don't know. But they could be like, right, look, we've got cars making money over here that have fossil engines, and I don't know what a Japanese board thinks. So maybe they're thinking, you know what, it's fine, we're just going to slow down, just press pause, just reassess what the costs are. Look, maybe it's a wise PR move, because as soon as the 60 kilowatt hour car is officially announced, and there's, in Germany, you can put a deposit down for it now, by the way. But even then, even still, it's not been officially announced by Nissan. That can't be good for orders of the 40 kilowatt hour car unless you combine that with a price cut for the 40. So, oh man, I don't know. If you announce the 60, is it going to cannibalise your own sales? I think the longer this delay goes on for, the more concerned I get. And that makes me sad for what was a former leader in the EV space, and they still can be, by the way. I saw someone summing up to the news today, like the last week's worth of news, starting with the news of the arrest and everything that's happened now, and they said it's a massive fumble by Nissan, and I really hope it's not. But you kind of wonder if things were happening that whatever happens with that legal process, if things were happening that the board governance level could have been dealt with and sorted out. Maybe they could have had their house in order a little bit better. You do wonder. I hope it's not a giant fumble, because you know how much huge fan of Nissan I am. Well, final story today in GM. I don't know why I left this to last. This is huge news. GM announced today a major restructuring, and it's going to involve, they say, doubling the company's investment in EVs and self-driving cars, but it's kind of a woolly time frame on that. They will pay for it by shutting down factories and laying off thousands of workers, and that isn't a fluffy time frame. We know exactly what's happening there. The company's confirmed the Chevy Volt is now being discontinued. According to Fred Electric, the restructuring announced today is coming at a high cost for GM employees. The company confirmed they're laying off 15,000 employees and closing down 5 factories. That is brutal. 3 assembly plants and 2 powertrain plants. A GM spokesperson confirmed to Electric the Chevy Volt will be discontinued next March. Past rumours have indicated that the crossover-style car could be replacing the Volt. That could be years out, though. With no confirmed home for things like the Tesla Semi to be built, or indeed the pickup or the Model Y, any closure of a plant has to be of interest to Tesla, and I just hope that if things can move quickly, jobs can be saved. Maybe if Tesla can buy a plant or a factory or two from GM, if it's right, and if it has what they need, then hopefully some of those 15,000 jobs perhaps could be moved over to new energy jobs and working in sustainable energy. It's the best you can hope for. That's brutal, brutal news. And while GM say, yeah, but we're offsetting all those job losses with doubling the investment in EVs, that is kind of put off to some sort of random time in the future. That's some sucky news to end the podcast on. I'm sorry about that. I should have put it earlier and ended on happy news. I'm sorry about that. Look, if you want to take part in this week's question of the week, I would love to hear from you. This has got you riled up this week. Holy moly, there's some passion on the question of the week. Thanks to myev.com. They've said this week. How can we solve the problem of people parking in charging bays? Go on then, do your best or your worst. How do we fix it? How do we solve the problem of people parking in charging bays? Fossil cars, EVs not charging, people leaving cars on a rapid charger for 7 hours, all of those things. How do we fix it? Let me know. You can let me know by filling out the answer on myev.com these days if you want to. Go to the website, click on research at the top, and then you go to question of the week. And if you sign up to the Discuss forums or you're already a member of the forums, you can leave your answer there. You can email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com, and let me know what you think. We'll read them all out on Sunday. Thank you very much to the 121 patrons of the show. With Kyle's contribution, it's now 121. Thank you very much. You are helping build this show every day and reaching more and more people and spreading the good word of EVs. There are 308 previous episodes. Hopefully I titled them all well enough. I put all the I then transcribed this show and and then put the content in the show notes, and so it's all searchable. So if you go to my website evnewsdaily.com and I don't know, you're into something like the Microlino, or you're into something like BYD, you can put that in the search box that I've put at the top, and it'll bring up all the stories over the 308 news shows of anything that might be of relevance. I hope this is a useful service for you. I really, really do. Thank you very much for subscribing. If you haven't yet, you can. To subscribe is free. It means you get the podcast first and automatically. And if you want to say hi on the socials, please do search for EV News Daily. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, and I will catch you tomorrow.